Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
Glistening and sizzling oven.
I don't
It
like
is
that.
the
I also don't like
the flakiest of the Bun Boys.
That's right. The Bun Boys are back.
The Bun Boys are back, baby, for this very special episode.
Oh, you told them up front.
Wait. Okay, for this very special
Our
episode,
April special.
for our April special that you're listening to in early April.
spring special.
Yeah, spring.
Some spring cleaning, if you will. Spring has sprung, and we have been saddled with watching these two movies. Wade, do you care to introduce?
Sure. So tonight we are doing something a little unusual for us. We're talking about a whole series.
A whole series in one night?
In one episode, as we have long threatened to. We are referring to, of course, two movies connected by having the same tagline, Remember the Name. The 2019 Clint Eastwood film, Richard Jewell, and the 2020 Kenneth Branagh film, Artemis Fowl.
Remember the name!
Remember the name.
Remember the name.
To set the stage for the listener, we've both watched both of these movies back to back, and now still have to talk about them.
Horrible series of decisions we've made.
Well, you might hear, listener, you might hear a voice, and you might be wondering to yourself, who is that voice, even though we've said Zane's name already? That is renowned musician, composer, artist, general, badass, cool person, perhaps better known to our audience as being a punk rocker.
Yeah, that's
in the band Caffeine Daydream. It's our man, Zane Hollomon.
Hello. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you for coming back.
Sitting at the table once again.
Officially joining the Two Timers Club. Officially a
Ooh,
two-timer.
yes,
Yeah.
our second returning champion.
If I had
First
known
other returning
all of what the night would entail, perhaps I would not have come.
The enemy of run times is here once again. The only guest to ever eke out longer than 90-minute episode.
Oh my god.
That's true.
So I just want you both to know that I have an eye on the clock and I will stop it mid-sentence if we go over 90 minutes.
Oh wait, 90. Okay. Okay.
We don't have to hit 90, but we cannot go over.
Well, let's get into it then. Okay, so this is the part of the show where usually I would try and do a 3-sentence description of what the movie was. But Zane, I'm going to kick that to you. For the first film in the Remember the Name miniseries. The duology. What is the film Richard Jewell, the Clint Eastwood biopic from 2019 about?
And I would like to say, if you're giving this one to Zane, then I call dibs on you having to do Artemis Fowl and me not having to describe any of these movies.
Richard Jewell is mostly a legal thriller about a man who is offered a book deal and then finds the only lawyer he knows, who responds by saying, "Am I the only lawyer you know?" And then legal battles ensue, and also John Hamm's in it.
It's based on a true story. We should
It's
mention.
based on a true story, and rest in peace and power to those who actually did die in the Atlantic Games bombing.
Yeah, and also to the people in this movie, I forget her name because she's horribly depicted, but the journalist that Olivia Wilde plays and Mr. Jewell himself both passed on.
Passed away. So kind of a downer.
The ending was definitely a downer because it ends on such a high note, and then it cuts to a card that reads like Richard Jewell died in 2007 of a heart attack.
Yeah. We should probably say what the movie's actually about. Did we?
Well, I mean, that is what it's about. This guy, and he's a security guard at the Olympic Games in Atlanta, and there's a bomb that goes off, and he is partially responsible for making sure that a bunch more people don't die than did end up dying. He's also being suspected of having planted the bomb himself because he fits the profile.
Yes, the
so it's kind
profile of a lone bomber. I believe they say that phrase 800 times in this movie.
So, wait.
Uh-huh.
Remember the name.
Remember the name.
Richard Jewell. Did you remember it? On a scale of 1 to 10, do you remember the name Richard Jewell after having watched this movie?
The quiz for this week is actually we just quiz you if you remember the name.
I mean, I do remember it since you just told me. If you had not told me, I'm not sure I would have, but...
Flop or bop, though?
It's so much easier for the other one. I mean, still a flop, but I liked it.
Okay.
It's not a bop. Like, it's not good enough to be a bop. But, like, I will say that I went into this movie expecting to really dislike it because of the personal politics of the director and my perceived interpretation of his desire to tell this story at this point in time. So I really went in, like, expecting to sort of loathe it. But I can't deny some really good performances, some competent directing, decent pacing.
There's a couple killer scenes, and Sam Rockwell is giving it 100% throughout.
Yeah, Rockwell is great.
He's wonderful in this.
Zane, flop or bop?
I will say I was not conflicted at all, although I did have a lot of fun, which made me almost second guess it. Absolute flop. Really, just not doing it. But it was fun sitting on the couch and watching it with you guys. We
it was a fun watch. It was a much more fun watch than the other one.
Yeah, shockingly so. I thought it was going to be like, oh, this one's a drag, and then we get to watch Artemis Fowl as a palate cleanser. Yeah. It was not.
It was very, very different.
We spent the amount of time that you would take to watch all of the extended edition of Return of the King to watch those two movies.
Is it 4 hours, the extended edition?
Probably.
Is the theatrical not 4 hours?
It's like 3.5, dude.
Okay, I'm at Richard Jewell, flop or bop. Or should I say Richard or Jewell?
Ooh.
Hey, go ahead and guess what I'm going to say for the next one.
I would say that this is a Richard rather than a Jewell, if you will. This is a flop. I think that there's like 4 to 7 incredible performances in this movie. Like people really bringing A game acting, like stakes. They are bringing like point of view on what's going on. They are bringing their exasperation. They're bringing like the character calculus of like, I want this, but I also want these other things. And if I do that, like, how does that get in the way of the other things that I want? When his mom is like putting together like, oh my God, my son sounds like a sociopath. And she realizes that they're going to nail him long before he does. I mean, there's some great work in this movie, but I feel like it's all in service of a poor script and a very strangely constructed like message and or story. So I don't know. It's a flop.
Yeah.
And moving on.
Okay, wait. Moments from this movie. Okay, what?
Oh, lots of notes.
There's some great moments from this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think picking up on what you said, like, the performances in it are really good. And watching it, I was like, how does... I don't know. We don't need to dive too quickly or too deeply into the whole Clint Eastwood thing.
Yeah.
I should also say I don't have any notes for this episode. I tried. I sat at Wikipedia for hours at the search bar just staring at the screen. Try as I might, I couldn't remember the name. And consequently, I brought nothing with me. But the Clint Eastwood thing is that, like, every year, like, he just does, like, a new Oscar drama movie, like, every single year, every single fall, he's directed something else. And I will confess that I haven't really seen much, if any, of his recent stuff. He was 89 years old when he made this movie. Wow. He's been in the late stage of his career for the last 25 years.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Watching it, I was like, wow, how are all these people in it? And then I was like, oh, yeah, I guess he's a good director. I guess people want to work with him despite like all of the other unsavory elements of him. Yeah. Because he's brought all of these good actors in and he has like directed them well in terms of the performances.
There's this whole thing with this movie where it's like obsessed with cops. It just like loves cops, and like the main character loves cops, but it's also clear that Clint Eastwood like loves cops.
But does
Kind
he?
of.
This is what I want to ask.
Yeah.
This is what I want to ask. Because I think, like, the stuff that I really disliked and was expecting to dislike was the media message of this movie.
Yeah.
Which we can dive into a little bit. But I think, like, the movie is kind of about Richard Jewell realizing that it's not good to be a cop.
Yeah, but then he's a cop at the end.
He gives the speech where he's like, I realize that, like, the most important thing in the world is not serving your government and being law enforcement. Like, that's his journey from wanting nothing more to than being a cop to being like, oh, these guys are not good. Like, becoming disillusioned with the system that says it's protecting you.
That's interesting. See, I think he's on the same arc as another character in another movie, also in this series, of always wanting to be a cop and then being a cop in the end. So, can we talk about Sam Rockwell's performance in this movie?
I think that's where we should start. That's by far the jewel of this movie, you might say.
Yeah.
He has the best lines in this film. He never wears pants. He's always in some cargo shorts. He's there, like, giving you, oh, I'm so busy, but he also, like, doesn't have a job. There's this woman named Nadia who appears in a lot of scenes with him, but it is never particularly clear what their relationship is. It seems sometimes to be romantic / like they live together, but sometimes it also very much seems like she's his secretary, and we never really find out about it until late in the game.
I will say that all of that stuff was crystal clear for me because my day job is working with solo lawyers. That's exactly it.
Okay.
Like, that is it is that they sit in their office all day with nothing to do, and they have one other person on staff in, like, an office suite, and they're just sort of, like, generally mean to anyone who tries to communicate to them. But yeah, the first time we meet him, he's in charge of the, what is it, U.S. Small Business Weekly, like a magazine about small businesses.
Yeah.
And then we get to 6 years later, and he said that
10, because it's 86 to 96.
Okay, yeah, 10 years later, and he said that because of lifestyle changes, he left the place, and he's now a lawyer. So he's passed the bar sometime in the middle there.
Yeah, well, presumably they wouldn't let him wear shorts at his last job.
Yeah,
That's the lifestyle changes. Pants to shorts.
He's great. There's a moment I'm just trying to find the moment where some great line he had. Okay, here's some good ones. You don't talk, I talk. And then spends the next 20 minutes of the movie making owl faces at Richard Jewell every time he opens his mouth, which is a truly wonderful bit.
Oh, that's true. My favorite performance from him, they're in the, like, hotel room, and it's him and Richard Jewell and Richard Jewell's mom, and the, like, entire branch of the FBI that's dedicated to investigating him is outside and is all, like, storming the place. And you just see a shot of them inside planning what to do, and he's like talking about it, and then it cuts to him going outside to meet the FBI, and everything is the same about him except his hat is backwards. And he has prepared to meet the FBI by turning his hat around.
He's like,
all right,
Ash
guys.
Ketchum style.
He's like, all right, guys, I've got a plan. It's real crazy, but it just might work. I'm going to flip this baby around and see what happens.
Rockwell has really made a career these last few years out of playing, like, bad guys with a heart of gold.
Yeah.
Like, people who belong to a bad group of people, but he is himself good.
Yeah, like he's a cop in 3 Billboards.
He's a racist cop.
He's
a cop who committed a racial crime.
Oh, yeah.
But who has a heart of gold. He's a Nazi with a heart of gold and a boyfriend in Jojo Rabbit.
Damn.
He's an evil yodeler in disguise who has a heart of gold in Trolls World Tour.
Dude, he is his own worst enemy in the movie Moon.
And he's just continuing that trope here.
Truly.
But he's also, like, would we say best performance in the movie?
Yeah, absolutely. He's wearing socks and sandals at one point. Anybody who can do that is clear in my book.
Yeah, the lead, Richard Jewell's performance was very good too, but maybe less I don't want to say less nuanced, but he's kind of like doing one thing the whole time.
Right. Yeah, he's great. That's Paul Walter Hauser as Richard Jewell from I, Tonya.
You remembered the name?
Yes, that is correct.
Congrats.
Wow.
I know him most from the 2 Spike Lee movies, which I think he's great in, Black Klansman and Da 5 Bloods. He's awesome in both of those. In 5 Bloods especially, because he's playing like a normal modern man, which is very fun to see. And looking forward to him in Cruella.
Do we really need a movie about Cruella DeVille? I think her name says it all. She makes clothing out of dogs. Is there a backstory
Is that what she does?
that we're supposed to feel good about having?
Well, look, here's my thing about that movie, which is just that,
Yes.
no interest whatsoever in the pitch. Very interested in the execution. Because I don't think that they have like talked about this much, but that's the guy's follow-up to I, Tonya. Like the guy who did I, Tonya, that's his next movie, the writer and director of it.
Oh, he's going to like reconfigure our views on problematic women from history.
Yes, and he said it in 1970s punk rock London. It's like Sex Pistols adjacent. Emma Stone is Cruella DeVille from the I, Tonya guy. So like it could be horrible, but like that's has sold me.
I would once again like to take back all of the things that I took back before and say that I will in fact be attending the theater to see that movie.
Any other upcoming movies we can talk about instead of Richard Jewell?
Yeah, I heard Tenet was pretty good, or is going to be
Did you?
pretty good, or something.
Was this a temporal pincer movement you're conducting?
I'm not sure.
We're recording the podcast
Perhaps we're
backwards and forwards at the same time.
Perhaps we're stuck in a time freeze.
Time same at the podcast the recording weird.
I just want to draw everybody's attention to the fact that even though this movie could qualify as a romantic comedy, from the meet cute at the beginning all the way to the last scene in the police station at the end, there is some unfortunate homophobia from our main character when he's like, I just want them to know I'm not gay, and has to go out and be like, yeah, I like looking at those pretty girls. And then tell him the other guy's not his boyfriend on live television, and like basically self-incriminate for a whole list of other things. Unfortunate.
I was pretty confused about how the movie wants us to feel about Richard.
Yeah.
Particularly in the first half an hour before the bomb goes off.
Are we
It
just
is
supposed
weird because it sets up with like the 10-minute prelude, and that ends inexplicably with Sam Rockwell, who at that point you see Richard Jewell working as like cargo dude, like a supply dude.
Yeah,
he just like is basically
some
a
sort of
janitor,
thing, yeah.
and
Yeah.
he like eavesdrops on a conversation that Sam Rockwell has. Do we know Sam Rockwell's character's name?
They say it a
anyone track
lot.
that?
Isn't it Walter? Something like that?
Sure. I'm just gonna go with Sam Rockwell. But he's having like an important conversation. Richard Jewell is clearly just sitting in on it, and they have a conversation, and Richard Jewell sort of reveals that he's like notices everything is what the character trait he sets up. He knows that Sam likes Snickers bars, and so he's put a bunch of Snicker bars in his desk, and he knows that he was running low on tape, so he supplied some. And he's just like this kind of awkward but very sweet dude who's caring for other people. And Sam is mostly a jerk to him. And then it ends. There's a scene cut later because it's when he says he's leaving. Richard Jewell's like, I'm going to go be a security officer. I'm leaving. And then Sam gives him $100 and says, you have to promise me once you get any power, don't be an And he says, okay. And then it cuts to him chastising a bunch of college students.
Yeah.
So that's like the first thing that the movie tells us, which makes it feel like it's saying some type of abuse of power. We also do learn that he has actually severely abused his power.
Yeah.
which
when he's like arresting people on the road when he's a campus cop.
Yeah, he's working as a campus cop, and he's gone far beyond his jurisdiction and gets fired from that job. I think I hesitate to bring up this movie, but I kept thinking back to Joker because it's like very different ultimately, but it sort of plays in the same ballpark of like a person's actions and a person's overall like personality maybe not matching up. I don't know if that's the best read on it, but it like felt sort of like a similar showcase of showing you this person who is rejected by society in some way and then like handles it differently. I mean, I think this movie is morally perhaps in a better place than Joker. I don't know. It kept reminding me of that, although this movie doesn't really play with mental health in any way.
Well, I was kind of wondering, like, if we are supposed to think that Richard has some sort of disability, because there are, like, things that suggest that at some point, particularly in that, like, opening 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And certainly the movie is leaning on tropes of savant-type movies, but then, like, that's never really touched upon.
Yeah.
Because especially at the beginning, he plays, like, almost as autistic. But, like, throughout the whole movie, I mean, that doesn't really track with, like, the rest of the movie. It was, I don't know, I think maybe he's just a dude who lives with his mom.
Somebody who you might now classify as, like, being on the spectrum, but at the time is, like, not on the spectrum enough to garner significant attention in school, especially not in he would have been in school in the
70s or 80s.
Early 60s, I think, if it's... No, you're right,
He's 33 in 96.
Yeah, the early 70s, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think there's something interesting that the movie is, like, willing to show you the bad side of him, and he also did this good thing and had a bunch of bad things happen to him kind of because of the good thing that he did. And the movie is like, they are willing to at least portray all of that. And I do think it comes out lionizing him more than not. Like being like, like what he did here makes him a hero, and everything else is like kind of beside the point, is what it feels like the movie comes around to saying. And also he's dead. And so then it's like, it's harder to...
But I think if it was saying those things were beside the point, it wouldn't have included them.
Yeah, that's true.
Or it would have like brushed them up in a more positive light.
Yeah.
Like it really doesn't make an effort to portray him in a positive light, which is what's sort of so disarming, disorienting about the movie. It's saying like, here is a guy who was abused by our systems.
Yeah.
Who, like, a person who did a good thing who was abused by our systems.
Which is true. It's like, it's not wrong to say that he was abused by the system. But,
yeah.
But, like, I have written in my notes, like, sometimes people who are, like, objectionable in other ways do good things. And, like,
absolutely.
Often out of the field of whatever objectionable thing they're doing, they'll do, like, something that is objectively good for a lot of people. And then you're like, well, okay, what do I do about that?
Well, it's just two things can be true at once.
Yeah,
you know?
two things.
That's what I always say. No one's all good. No one's all bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does also... The movie makes a point of pointing out when he discovers the bomb, it's after going after a group of like high schoolers who are drunk and throwing bottles around. And he goes up to them and tries to get them to stop, and they just make fun of him. And after they make fun of them, they actually find the bomb, and they like knock it over. It's in a backpack, and they knock it over. And later, Richard Jewell has 2.5-minute monologue about how if those kids didn't do that, it didn't just like be drunk, then the bomb would have spread, the like shrapnel would have spread out and would have killed a lot more people.
Yeah.
But instead it went up and killed less people. And I think the movie has something to say about like the nuance of morality and maybe things just kind of happen. But I think all of that is severely hindered by a terrible script.
Yeah.
And like weird pacing. Also, very frequently, I just didn't know where we were or why we were there.
Yeah.
There's a character who was on screen who none of us knew who they were.
Despite having been on screen several, like 3 or 4 times before, which we realized later.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think like you can engage with this movie like we are and sort of say these things. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's more prescient or more engaging because it is a true story and there's something like it happened. It's so hard for me to think about this movie and like think about things to take into my life from it other than just kind of memes.
Cancel culture is bad. Do you think this or Joker is a better movie about cancel culture? Yeah. Well, we've done more than 30 minutes on Jewell, so we should move on.
Yeah.
But like, we have to talk about the media thing.
Okay.
We don't have to talk about it long, but that's like the big thing about this movie.
That is the big thing, is he was ruined by the media.
Yeah, and there's a prominent figure, Kathy someone, played by Olivia Wilde. Her like whole thing is she's like the Lois Lane figure. She's a reporter who will do whatever to get what she wants, but like mostly they just depict her as sleeping around, or at least like that's what she's introduced as.
And being like perennially drunk is a horrible person.
Hell yes. I was all about her. I thought we needed more of her. I wanted whatever movie she was in. I wanted the movie about her.
Very different tone.
I wanted the movie about her breaking the story about all of this and like navigating being a news reporter in the 1990s when nothing was happening. I want that film.
It's worth noting that she is a real person and that the AJC, when this movie came out, demanded that the film add a disclaimer that it was fictitious and taking fictional license with her because of the things they say her character did, none of which she did in real life.
Do you mean like making out with John Hamm in a bar to get the scoop?
Yeah. It said that the quote from them was like, it's funny that this film is made to try and take back the character assassination of Richard Jewell while it makes new character assassination on Kathy.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's weird. Because she's like not the villain of this story. Also, she comes around and like yells at John Hamm because there's a crucial plot point, which I guess is how in real life they cleared Richard Jewell's name, which is that he couldn't have been the one to have planted the bomb because the bomb was called in from a payphone just a minute before, and the payphone was too far away from where he was confirmed to have been for him to get there. And the entire basis of the argument that it was him is based on the lone bomber profile, which means he wouldn't be working with an accomplice, which is what he would need for the payphone to be him. And she discovers that, and she like goes to John Hamm, the FBI agent, and says like he couldn't have done it. And then from then on, she's sort of a much more empathetic figure in the film. So it's weird. I don't know what the movie gains by changing her real life character into that, other than having a scene where she touches John Hamm's thigh or intentionally painting the media in a worse light.
I mean, I think that's it. I think that's why Clint Eastwood made this movie in 2019.
Yeah.
Is to be like, we can't trust the media. The media is horrible. Don't believe your sources.
Yeah.
And like, I think there is some nuance to this because I think like the paparazzi mongering that this film depicts is like such a real thing of like millions of people waiting outside people's house. And I think like that's horrible. But I think this movie also perpetuates that stereotype of that being some sort of journalism in that character when like, I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but the thumbs down to all of that.
Yeah.
I think it's horrible.
Yeah. It was interesting to me seeing a movie based so strongly on the sort of cycle of news that takes place in the mid-90s as opposed to like the 2000s. Because thinking about this, I mean, the thing that happened to Richard Jewell happens like every 2 hours on Twitter. Like it's just constantly going on. And there's an like a crucial plot point of the movie is that the news breaks that Richard Jewell is being investigated by the FBI, and
Emmett is yawning into his microphone as Zane is rolling on with this point.
You're good. You're good.
I can cut this short if
No,
you'd
no,
like.
you're good.
The FBI is investigating Richard Jewell. The news breaks, and then the FBI immediately hightails it to Richard's house and goes like, "Hey, we need you for something. It's a training video. You're our actor. Please come." But it's like totally cool. We're like not against you at all.
Oh yeah.
And it's like integral to the plot that he hasn't seen the news yet. And I don't know, just thinking about the modern day, he just would have gotten a text from his two cop friends, and they'd been like, "Dude, did you see this thing on Twitter about you?"
Yeah, that's true.
Zane, who's your MVP of Richard Jewell?
Nadia, absolutely.
Oh, she's good.
She was good.
She's good.
Yeah, she was just, whenever she was on, she always has the same like smirk, the same smile, because like we don't know anything about her. It was very fun. I always just got excited seeing her. She also is like the one who actually kind of gets stuff done.
Yeah.
And seems to know what she's doing. She's my MVP. OTRJ.
We know one thing about Nadia, and that's that where she comes from, when the government tells you that a person is guilty, that's the only way to be sure that they're innocent.
MVP?
That is true.
I was toying with the idea of it being Nadia, but I'm going to go with the dean of whatever school he was working for, because that man in 2 separate scenes was like, "It's mine. Best supporting is mine. I'm going to get it." And he is delivering everything. He is giving you Greek tragedy messenger in those 2 scenes. And yeah.
Yeah, he has real
love him.
Hogwarts energy.
He does. And he's like, you think that he's feeling like small or threatened or whatever, and then he's like standing over him and he's framed all intimidating. He's like, "Get out of my office, you'll never work in this town again." And then later he's just like, "Oh, I just thought you should know that he was abusing his power while he was here. It's no big deal. But I see he's wanted for this massive crime, and now I'm going to tell you about past crimes he did. It's just my civic duty." Yes. Okay, wait, who's your MVP other than Richard Jewell?
I don't know the character's name or the actor's name, but it's like the weird writer friend that Olivia Wilde has who sort of follows her around.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of myself in him, just in underpaid and underappreciated and sort of undertalented in a supplemental writing job, and also just like being willing to follow a pretty lady to the end of the world no matter what moral and legal crimes you were committing. And he had like at least one line rating that I thought was good, but I certainly can't remember it now.
I might revise my answer to be Emmett's impression of the principal. I think that line reading may actually be my favorite thing to come from this movie.
Thank you. We should mention Kathy Bates, who
yes.
Obviously got nominated for Best Supporting Actress for this film.
Didn't she win?
She did not win. Laura Dern won for Marriage Story.
The Laura Dern songs.
It was the only nomination this film got, but was an upset because everyone thought in the bag to win was Jennifer Lopez for Hustlers.
Damn.
Who didn't even get nominated.
Damn.
Kathy Bates got nominated over her instead.
Wow. And she has like no lines in this movie.
She has 2 Oscar speeches, which is like it really becomes a different movie. Like, it is clear that they made those 2 scenes for her so that she would win the Oscar.
She was like, "If you're putting me in that ugly ass wig,
she cries and the score starts playing, which the score in this movie is never heard other than those 2 scenes.
Yes, I made some notes here of when the score comes in, and it's really, I think, a total of something like 8 times is there any score in this. 3 of those are just a low repeating bass drum over the music having like a low pass filter whenever he's in, it's like the crowd at the bombing. 3 of them are in sort of the last 10 minutes when it's like things wrapping up. 2 of them, which is 25% of the total score in this movie, is just for her giving emotional mom speeches. It made me upset that I wasn't hired to score this movie. Because, like, I could do that. I could make 8 tracks for a Clint Eastwood film. And it's really only piano and a bass drum, but like synth piano with the filter on it. There's really nothing else. Why didn't they hire me? I probably wasn't doing anything.
You could have done that.
Surely Clint Eastwood has my number ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, he's been talking to us for years trying to get on the pod.
Yeah.
So.
And he knows, I mean, he hears at the end of every episode that our theme music is by Zane Hollomon, who you can find on Bandcamp.
And I believe there's more of your theme music in the world than there is music for this movie.
You're absolutely right. I could have done it. I'm frankly upset that I wasn't contacted.
I'm sorry. I'm glad that we could be here for you in this time.
We can put you in touch. Clint keeps texting me. He's trying to get on to do The Land Before Time. Talk about the good old days. They should have known, by the way, that it was going to be Kathy and not Lopez because she's a real character. It would have never been. Although actually, Hustlers is based on a true story too, so she's also a real character. But probably less evidence, you know. Like they've got to give it to Kathy because how would they check the acting otherwise?
Yeah,
they can watch the speech of the real Mama Jewell and then watch this movie and determine if it was the best or not.
Look, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but was Mama Jewell up there looking like a frog in the headlights?
Because Mama Jewell's still alive.
Because that's what Kathy Bates was looking like.
Richard's dead, but Mama Jewell is watching Sam Rockwell's kids every Saturday night, remember?
Oh, that's right.
Sweet.
She's out there. She's out there wearing the same glasses that I bought this week. My final thought before we move on and spend much less time talking about Artemis Fowl is that in like a really cool piece of like brand synergy, similar to how they revealed Halo 5 and Mission Impossible, they actually revealed the name of the next Fast and Furious movie, F9, when you look at the apartment door of Richard Jewell's apartment.
Oh my god. Wow.
Yeah, that's true.
That's canon.
It's breaking news. Just like how they revealed Batman v Superman in Will Smith's I Am Legend in like 2012 or whatever.
I forgot about that. And it's so moving on to this film's sequel.
Yeah.
Different director, Sir Kenneth Branagh. For the sequel to this film, Artemis Fowl, do you want to tell us a little bit about this movie?
So this is a sequel to the 2019 biopic Richard Jewell. It is called Artemis Fowl. It is about a young Irish lad named Artemis, which is the name of a Greek goddess.
Sorry, were you having trouble? It seems like you were trying to.
Yeah,
I think you were maybe trying to recall, perhaps.
Recall the title.
Oh, yes. I was trying to remember the name.
Remember the name.
Yes.
Yes, I was having to remember the name because we do, in fact, need to remember the name.
Yes,
Artemis
remember
Fowl.
the name.
Artemis Fowl, The World of Wonders, as this movie is sometimes called. In some regions. Yeah, apparently on Wikipedia. It's
oh, really?
Or The World of Wonders.
So
Artemis Fowl, it's about this kid, his dad was an international art thief, but he doesn't know that. He has a great relationship with him. And then one day his dad goes away in a helicopter and he never comes back. And it's because he's been kidnapped. And so then young Artemis gets together with his cool butler guy. The guy's name is Butler. He's also a bodyguard. He's not a butler. It's set up to be important, but it's never important. It's absolutely never important actually in the movie. He's cool. He has like these weird blue eyes and this awesome white hair, which I think I remember from the books that character gets later after dying and being resurrected. So that's interesting.
Which does happen in this movie.
Does happen in this movie, but he already has the cool hair and eyes. Mm-hmm. So he's got old Dominic Butler as his right-hand man. They're like, I'm going to save my dad. Much like the other one, he's been maligned by the media. He's been maligned by the government. And much like the other one, he has to go into the secret underground world of wonders of the Irish fairy kingdom to rescue his father. It's really unclear what's going on in this movie.
He doesn't go underground.
But they come to him, which is not clear why. Because his dad has the thing, but it's like, but he captures a fairy.
Yeah.
He kidnaps a fairy played by Sarah McDonnell. She wants to be a cop, but she's not a cop, but all the other fairy cops are off doing other fairy cop things. So the old commander, who's played by Dame Judi Dench, in a true star turn, which looks like David Bowie, and then later in the movie is referenced to look like David Bowie, which I really hated.
You gotta wonder who's got her kids. I mean, she
Right?
did Cats, and then she did this. Like, who is holding her family hostage and making her make these horrible career choices?
They were straight up like, look, you like gin, old lady? There's an entire warehouse of it for you if you film 5 scenes against a green screen in Artemis Fowl, World of Wonders.
She does give the best line rate of this movie.
Yes, we really care to talk about it.
Yeah, she comes out. It's for the final battle, and she comes out of her fairy spaceship. The door opens, and you've been seeing her in sort of an administrative role this whole time, and this is your first time seeing her with the full getup. She has the fairy helmet, and the doors open, and the cameras speed up to her face, and she says, "Top of the morning." And it's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. Okay, would you talk about the fairy tech? Can we talk about how these magical people have tech?
I don't know. It's weird. I will say what I will say about
Nothing
that
makes sense.
Nothing makes
is
sense.
this movie doesn't play like an adaptation of a children's novel to me. It plays like a visual recreation of a child's memory of a PS2 game that he played several years ago. In the like...
Well, that's the last 80 minutes. The first 20 minutes play like a tourism ad for Ireland.
Oh, it's like, hey, did you know you can surf in Ireland?
It's just like overviews of like the fields and the architecture and the oceans of Ireland. And they say the Irish blessing, and it's
5 times.
the music is unbelievable.
That's true. Immediately before watching these films, we watched a short YouTube video about Ocracoke Island, where Emmett hails from, and it really played the same. In like, this is what the local people believe. This is how they talk.
Yeah, that's true.
Which also, this has this entire movie has a framing device, which is that Josh Gad playing Hagrid has been kidnapped. I didn't realize until the end by humans, I guess.
By MI6?
Sure, yeah.
By Kenneth Branagh.
Yes.
Doing the voiceover.
Right. But he's like, Josh Gad is telling them, telling Kenneth Branagh the story of this movie. So like every 5 to 15 minutes, he just intersperses, like he does a voiceover.
Always inexplicably in black and white.
Yeah. All his shots are in black and white for no reason. It's very strange. And he, like, his voiceover at the beginning is very similar to the Ocracoke video, where he's like, this place is beautiful and there's so many things long lost to man, but we have these pesky schools that we have to go to, and that's the worst. It's just a strange movie.
This film had a very troubled production history. I didn't need to do my notes to tell you that one. It was originally supposed to come out in summer 2019. It was going to be Disney's next blockbuster after Avengers Endgame out in theaters. Was going to be this. And then it got delayed a year after they had like put out a trailer and done marketing. And then they did extensive reshoots, which added Colin Farrell, which is like a pretty big part of the movie.
Yeah, I would say like a significant fifth.
Technically the titular role.
That's true. Because all of that Josh Gad stuff screams of like studio notes and reshoots.
Yeah.
Like that is clearly like the studio watched and they were like, no one will understand what's happening. You have
Still
to add a
didn't.
character who narrates the entire movie so they understand it.
And it's still only an hour 36.
Yeah, and it's still incomprehensible. Zane, Artemis Fowl, art or foul?
It's a foul for me, man. No question about it. As far as I'm concerned, I didn't watch this movie.
Emmett, art or foul?
This is the foulest flop I've ever seen. This is so bad. I legitimately thought that this was going to be like ending on an upswing after Richard Jewell, but I can honestly say that of the two movies in this series, you know, it's always tough with a sequel.
Yeah,
They
it's tough.
didn't hit it. They did not hit it. I have a note here. A question that I wrote early in the movie, which I have seen before and read several of the books for. The question: is this April Cadobio? The character's name is Opal Go Boy.
Emmett has so amused himself with his own bit of mispronouncing names that he's sobbing.
You cannot even approach the microphone.
Okay, also
Nothing out of the ordinary.
speaking on Judi Dench.
Oh, wait, hang on. Hold that thought. Wait.
Yeah.
Art or foul?
It's a foul for me as well. I must admit, when I first started this movie, I was very confused about how it related to Richard Jewell. It seems like a very tenuous sequel. Like, at first it seems like maybe the tagline is the only thing these movies have in common, and they
can't
weren't
be
actually
right.
crafted as sequels. But then I think like the themes about the media that both movies have is the
Artemis
same.
has someone helping to fix the media at the end.
That is true.
He reveals it.
And also, like, this movie starts with a lot of shots of, like, reporters crowding his house. And
Oh yeah.
they say there's, like, a media blitz. There's also, like, a man being unfairly detained by the FBI.
Yeah.
Josh
That's
Gad's
true.
character.
Damn.
That's true.
This movie also has a lot to say about the prison reform system.
It also ends with Artemis calling Sam Rockwell and saying that I need a lawyer, and Sam asking, am I really the only lawyer you know? And
Yeah.
Artemis says yes.
It also ends with April Kenobi taking off her mask, and you see that it's Olivia Wilde from the other movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's foul. I'm ashamed that the first time I watched this, I thought this movie was watchable.
It was probably the circumstances.
I will say that halfway through this movie, our internet died, and we were all overjoyed.
We're all like,
We were
oh, we
so
don't have to
happy.
watch
I
this.
wrote this down when it happened. Because it started at first, it just like cut to black, and then it was buffering. And Wade, without missing a beat, said, "Oh, thank God."
I was so relieved. And then it came back on. Right in the face. Both of these movies about dealing with hideous trolls.
The real story. Judi Dench is up here playing a knockoff Diane Rehm.
Judi Dench is out here yelling, "He's destabilized the time freeze."
Oh, he's destabilized the time freeze.
This movie is what I thought Valerian was going to be when I went into it, which is fully incomprehensible and useless. And I found Valerian to be quite charming. I don't even know. Like, I will have no memory of having seen this movie in 2 hours.
Not
Yeah.
even the Five Nights at Freddy-esque horror of seeing Josh Gad unhinge his jaw.
Yeah,
That I will
awful.
never get out of my
That
head.
part's terrible. It's like all of the parts of this movie that you want it to be cool are not cool. The fight with the troll is not that cool.
The fairy fight is kind of cool.
That part's
There's some
kinda
cool
That's the
stuff
part I
there.
like.
The
It lasts
time
30
bends,
seconds.
the
yeah.
time bends are kind of cool.
Yeah, I like, there's a point where a child steals some ice cream from an older man, and she goes to eat the ice cream, and she's very excited about it. That was nice.
Mhm.
She was getting some ice cream.
Okay, so
Yes.
this movie
this movie.
Artemis Fowl. Remember the name, at least for the next 5
Remember the
minutes.
Name Part
Remember
2,
the Name.
the
Remember
sequel.
The name Part 2, the sequel. More remember, more name.
To remember two names.
To remember two name. Who would you say would be the MVP other than Artemis Fowl?
MVP OTAF.
Yes.
OTAF squared. I don't know her name. I don't think she had a name. I don't think she could be considered a character. But in all of the Phantom Menace-esque politics shots in the midst of the fairy
The corporate
world,
drama.
yeah, there was just some like tall redhead girl.
Oh, yeah.
She was cool.
Yeah.
I think I tried to look her up in preparation for this. I think she is playing a character from the books.
Okay.
I don't think she had a line. I think at one point the girl fairy comes and she's like, "Good job." The girl fairy's like, "Oh, thanks." And I think that's the only line she gets. But I saw her and I was like, "Oh, is she going to have something cool to do?" She didn't.
No.
But she was fun.
Wade?
It's Juliet.
Okay.
Yes, really
All right.
done a disservice. in this
Dom's
film.
niece. Yeah, they do her so dirty in this movie because she just like pops up. She's gone for huge swaths of it. She's the butler's niece, and she's introduced in a very cool like sword fighting scene.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you see her do is just bring someone a sandwich, which is very problematic. And then she like is gone for 30 minutes and shows up for 5 minutes. And then like when her uncle is dying, Artemis Fowl yells at her to go get help and not be around him. And then she's gone for another. You know what? I really wonder if she was there pre-reshoots.
Oh, that's a good question.
That feels like they might have just inserted her into one or two scenes.
Yeah, because she's a character from the books, but they don't take any time on her for this.
Yeah. Anyway, she's really good. She's a really cute little kid. I think like the 3 core kid performances are fairly good in this. I mean, Artemis Fowl's very silly, but like, what can you expect with kids, I guess? But
Yeah.
I think she's pretty good. Emma MVP.
OTAF.
Well, I was looking for my boy Verbal Chicks, who is a character from the
looking for
book.
some verbal chicks.
Ever. I don't know if he actually makes an appearance in this movie. He's a character from the books. I always liked Foley a lot from the books, who's the centaur.
He's
I
pretty
think
good.
he's like
He's pretty good in
underused in this. He's more of like a comic relief.
Cool
in the
haircut.
books. Cool haircut. It's hard because none of them are good. Like,
That is true.
Like none of it is good. So it's like really, it's quite bad, honestly. But I would say probably Dame Judi Dench is like the most watchable part of this movie. And I have no idea what the Phantom Menace style politics are that are going on. But she seems to care about them.
They also never get resolved.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Oh, this
We
is
see
very...
that the dude is working for the bad guy.
Oh,
We do see that. Yeah, but that's never resolved either.
This movie has a villain that like kidnaps Artemis Fowl Sr.
Uh-huh.
And that villain has a mysterious hood. It's like you find out early on that it's one of the it's like the darkest elf or the darkest fairy. And they have this weird voice modulation that's not like anything else you see, and they have a spooky hood and you can't see their face. And so from the beginning you're like, oh, this is a mysterious figure that we're going to see, and they're going to be very cool. And you don't at all. They're just in a cave for the entire movie.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends with Artemis Jr. Skyping the fairy and saying, "I will find you." And the fairy says, "Cool." And then the movie ends.
And they're gonna go find the guys that her dad was looking for before he disappeared, and it's a sequel bait.
Yeah, well,
You guys think we're gonna see that
a
sequel?
triquel, a third bait.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
this is the sequel.
True. This is.
Let's
the
not
sequel.
forget.
Let's not forget. Never,
I will
ever.
say that there's never ever when a mysterious character who you don't see the face of is using a voice modulation and sounds like a deep voiced man, it's always a woman. Like it's
That's
still
true.
always played as a like a big reveal, but it's just like a trope. Like it's always a woman.
Opal Cowboy is a woman.
I know, I'm saying
Like,
that.
yeah.
But they're making it sound like it's a man throughout the movie
Oh, yeah.
because she's using the voice modulation.
It's a lot like Princess Leia's character in
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi. That's what I immediately go to.
You did at one point in this movie say, "Oh, it's Princess Leia," when a character appeared on screen. I don't remember who.
This
don't
is
remember any
it
of
was
these
her.
characters.
It was when I was April Kobadomi.
This is definitely a movie without a third act. Like,
Oh, it's a movie that's third act seems to begin 45 minutes in.
that's the second act, though. Like, there's like a 20-minute preview of Visit Ireland ad.
Uh-huh.
Then there's like 20 minutes of the first act, which is like all of the missing father's exposition and sorrow. And then the second act like starts when they get to the house, which is like 30 minutes in, like when the army gets to the house.
Yeah.
And then that like action sequence just goes on for an entire hour.
Yeah.
And then like the movie is over.
I think, to be fair, I think that's how the book is.
Okay.
Like, the book is like 2/3 is like the fairies attacking the house and like them in this time bin. But because it's a book, that can be paced out like a lot. Be more compelling is that like slow burn in the house, you know?
Yeah. You mentioned after the film, you thought this was an adaptation of the first 4 books to a degree.
It bears parts of all of the first 4 that I read. And probably if I'd read more, it would like have stuff from all of them. Because the whole Opal thing is not until the 4th book. His dad being kidnapped is not something he really knows about until the 2nd book. Like Butler dying and then coming back to life is something that happens in the 3rd book. But the whole assault on the house is a first book thing.
Huh.
There's a lot of different stuff going on there. So it seemed to me like they were doing let's take everything from all across here and do it, which I think is interesting. But I think that that's like something where a lot of like first adaptations of a series book go wrong, where they're like, we don't know if we're going to make the whole series. So instead of just making a really good adaptation of the first book, we're going to pepper in from just willy-nilly the whole series.
That's the first Series of Unfortunate Events movie famously does that.
Yeah.
Emmett, should we play Bum's the Word?
Yes, we should. Okay.
All right, do you want to host Fowl or Jewell?
I'll host Fowl.
Okay, I'll host Jewell then. Okay. Zane, this is our new game segment, so if you can just improv some theme music while we get it ready.
Okay. Do 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 do.
Can I use your
Do 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 do. Burn burn burn.
Oh, I was going to say their dads are mirrors of each other. The elf girl and Artemis Fowl. They both have fathers who are pariahs to societies.
Okay, I think I would have had a better shot of guessing Jewell than you will, but I hope for the best. So this is our new game segment that we're trying out. It's called Bum's the Word. Thank you, Zane, for our theme music.
Of course.
In this game, IMDb chooses several movies that are related to every single film, and they're more like this section.
Interesting.
Sometimes the connections are clear, sometimes much less so. So in this quiz, Bum's the Word, we are going to try and guess the first 6 movies that IMDb thinks are most similar to the movie that we just watched. And I will say this game is fun for our listeners at home because you can try and guess along, or you can log on to imdb.com and roleplay as the host and listen to everyone guess.
Know that we're wrong when we say this stuff.
I'll also say we do it on desktop. You can't really do it on mobile. So here we go. So these are the 6 films that IMDb has said is most similar to Richard Jewell.
Okay. Is this are Emmett and I competing, or are we?
Nope, you're working together.
Working together. Okay.
This first film came out at the beginning of 2020.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
No. It is also sort of Oscar baity, although I don't think it got
Bad Boys for Life.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
many awards. No. It is also a legal drama.
A Trial of the Chicago 7.
No. It is also based on a real story. It came out in theaters. It is about racial justice.
Just Mercy? Hell yeah.
That was 2020?
Yeah, that was like January 2020.
Whoa.
Really?
I think so.
Huh. Okay. In my head, it was 2018 distinctly.
Yes, it is Just Mercy with Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx.
I watched that. That was pretty good.
Is it also about a wrongfully accused man?
Yes,
That feels like that's a good
it is
connection.
indeed. Yeah.
It was released on January 10th, 2020 in
Wow.
theaters.
Okay.
Wow, just on the bar.
Okay, this second film, this is also based on a true story.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
It says 2019 here. All the release dates on here are always hard because they do like the film festivals. I think this one actually came out in late 2019. I know none of us have seen it. I think I may be the only person who've heard of it. It's also based on a true story. Also, like the last one, stars a Marvel actor as the main character. This is also about a man who is being sort of abused by the systems. Also greatly involves the press. A corporate defense attorney takes on an environmental lawsuit against a chemical
Dark
company.
Water?
That is correct.
Okay, Mark Ruffalo.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it. I just remember the preview for it from back when those were a thing.
Yes, it is Dark Waters, starring Mark Ruffalo.
Have not heard of it.
Okay, well, I guess we're really just doing with, like, the lesser-known hits of awards season 2019 is what this
Okay.
is doing. This is a movie based on a novel. It's a famous passion project for the director, who also stars as the lead. He is much more known as an actor than a director. It's sort of like an ensemble film. Like, there's a lot of people in it.
Is he playing two characters in it?
No, he's just playing one character. Not widely seen or beloved, but like definitely had some people who are really into it.
Based on a novel.
A film that is like in some ways dealing with racial tensions as well, and some people really liked the way it was depicted, and some people really didn't.
Novel.
Based on a novel, directed by the lead actor, who, Emmett, you thought was in one of the movies we were watching.
Oh wait, is it As I Lay Dying?
No. The other, like, sort of famous thing about this movie is that, like, a legacy action star who is sort of famous for being very bad, like never trying to act anymore, is in a small role in this movie and gives a good performance for the first time in, like, 25 years.
Do you know this?
I got nothing.
Okay, I'll read the description. In 1950s New York, a lonely private eye afflicted with Tourette's syndrome ventures to solve the murder of his only friend.
Batman and the Shadow crossover comic from 2 years ago.
No, but it is also like sort of a famous unadaptable novel.
Emmett's got something.
Is
He's,
it
Charles Xavier?
Is it Inherent Vice?
No. All right. Are you calling it?
Yeah, I'm calling
It is Motherless Brooklyn,
it. I don't know.
Okay.
starring and directed by Edward Norton. Had a lot of Oscar hopes, but didn't get any awards buzz. Most known for having like a really good star performance from Bruce Willis, who's only in like 3 scenes, but everyone says like acts for the first time since Die Hard 3 in 1990.
Wow. Go Bruce.
Okay, movie 4. This is a movie I have never heard of.
Good.
Okay.
Although actually I think it's a movie that my mother has seen, so maybe I have heard of it. Man, I don't even know what to say about it. It's 2018. It's sort of like, it's in the genre of sort of like generic military film, like about a real life military modern operation that normally has sort of like one person in it of note and is like a little dry.
Zero Dark 30.
No,
Argo.
no, but it does have numbers in the title. It is also directed by Clint Eastwood. It is also based on a true story. It is a movie that no one has seen.
Flight 259.
An attempted terrorist attack on a Paris-bound train is prevented by 3 courageous young Americans.
France 1, 2, 3.
No, but that's close.
The Paris number 7.
That's even closer.
Paris 007.
No.
The Paris 704.
It is the 1517 to Paris. With a title like that, it's no wonder why nobody has seen it.
God, talk about not being able to remember the name.
Movie number 5. This film, also from early 2020,
Okay.
also came out in theaters.
Okay.
The narrative around this movie was that the lead actor, who had been having very public addiction issues over the last 5 years,
Doolittle.
no, has like gotten sober and put in like a really stellar performance. The movie is also about that. It is also a road to recovery movie.
2008's Iron Man.
Is it A Star Is Born?
No, this is early 2020. It is a sports drama. I don't think anyone has seen this, but I'm sure both of you saw the trailer for this 18 million times, as I did.
Sports drama.
Is it The Flying Boy on the Great Big Skis?
No, but its title is somewhat reminiscent of a sci-fi movie with a similar title. Although this movie is not sci-fi at all, it is a sports drama. A road to recovery sports drama starring a very famous main actor who's been in a lot of stuff ever since the 90s.
Cool Runnings.
Has also written stuff. Is responsible for one of the movies you mentioned mere moments ago, Emmett. Jack Cunningham was a high school basketball phenomenon who walked away from the game, forfeiting his future. Years later, when he reluctantly accepts a coaching job at his alma mater, he may get one last shot at redemption.
Is that a pun? One last shot.
It is.
Space Jam 2?
Any last guesses?
Space Jam.
It's a
3?
basketball movie that came out in early 2020 about a washed up drunk getting sober and leading a team to greatness. A team
Is
of
it
high
Flying
schoolers.
Bird? High Flying Bird?
Mm-mm.
Hannah Takes the Stairs.
It's The Way Back, starring Ben Affleck.
Oh.
I'm ashamed of both of you.
Why would I know that? I've never even seen
sorry.
the preview.
I
for
sat next to you at least 5 times in 2019 as we watched the trailer for that movie.
I must have zoned it out. Even the trailer sounds boring.
And there was the whole narrative about Ben Affleck obviously being very sad and drunk while he was Batman for the last 5 years and like getting clean and doing this. Okay, this last movie is the most well-known of any of the 6 we've talked about. It is, once again, a 2019 Oscar film, except this one actually secured the nom.
Okay.
Hashtag secured the nom. It is also based on a true story. It is also has a member of the media as the main character.
Oh.
It is the rare PG-rated film.
Oh. PG. It's not animated, is it?
It is not animated. It's live action.
It's not Little Women, is it?
No. No.
Only PG movie I can think of.
Based on a true story about a famous real-life figure who is not the main character. The main character is about...
is it the Mr. Rogers movie?
Mhm. Not the doc, but
yeah. What's it called? Good.
It's-
Lovely Day in the Neighborhood.
A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Beautiful
That is
Day.
correct.
Okay.
About the journalist who profiled Mr. Rogers.
All
That's
right.
1 for 6, 2 for 6.
I think that was 3
Oh,
for
I thought we
6
were-
is where you two ended up.
Cheers.
So, I guess much like the Remember the Name series, 1 out of 2 isn't bad.
I don't know if I would go that far.
The first one of the 6 movies that is most like this movie.
Most like Artemis Fowl.
Most like Artemis Fowl.
All right.
It is a 2020 action adventure rated TV PG, so we have no chance of getting this one.
It's a TV movie.
A TV movie.
I thought we can't talk about TV on this podcast.
It's not like a streaming. It's not like a movie that just came out on streaming service. It's like actually a TV
Is it
movie.
The Descendants 3? Is it the third
Plus.
Descendants film?
It might actually be.
I don't know the subtitle, but that's my official guess.
Are you not looking at the title of the movie?
I'm looking at the title of it. It doesn't say anything about the Descendants in the
probably
title.
not the Descendants.
Okay.
Wait.
Well, give us some hints.
Okay, so it follows Sam's adventures at a top secret training program for a new class.
Is it Timmy Failure? Mistakes were made?
No. For a new class of second-born royals tasked with saving the world.
Is that not... It might not be called Descendants.
The Runaways?
You're... Okay.
It's Disney, right?
It's Disney. It seems like Descendancy, but I can't tell. It is called Secret Society of Second-Born Royals. Would you have ever gotten it?
Oh. I've
Probably
heard... I
not.
certainly
Probably
would not
not.
have... I think that's maybe tangentially connected as like a spin-off to the... I haven't
Okay.
seen them. I think that's in that line. That's basically what I was imagining. Certainly not securing the point for myself, but I...
Not at all. Up next, we have the 2020 action-adventure drama. It is a Disney film. It was a film that did gloriously well when it was released
In theaters?
for paid streaming this year.
Oh,
Mulan?
Mulan.
Cool.
Next up, it's a 2020 comedy, family fantasy. This
Onward?
movie- no. This movie stars Adam Devine. It is a live action.
Oh, I know it. I hate Adam Devine so much.
Yeah.
It's Anna Kendrick too. It's like their magic school. They're going to magic camp.
Yes, you've said the name of the movie, even if inadvertently. The name of the movie is Magic Camp.
They really struggled with the name on that one.
All right, the next movie here is a movie that we joked about watching in our earlier this evening, selected for us by the TV in our future viewing.
A Wrinkle in Time.
That is correct. Next up, it's a 2019 animated action adventure. It is similar. Well, let me just tell you who it stars here. It stars somebody who also starred in a Spider-Man movie, and it stars someone who also
Spies in
starred-
Disguise.
Yes. All right, and
Who
finally,
is that? Is that Sony? Is that Blue Sky?
I'm not sure.
I think maybe Blue Sky.
Finally,
Are we on 6 already?
number 6? Yeah, a 2020 comedy family drama, getting a strong 6.1 out of 10. It looks like it's a movie. I've never seen this movie or heard of it before. It looks like a movie a la what's the word? God, what's
You're
the name
having
of that
trouble
movie?
recalling.
Yeah, I'm remembering the name.
something?
Yeah, of the Amy Adams movie. Screw it. Okay, we're not even.
Enchanted?
Yes, it's like that, but it's not that.
Oh, is it? And it's with the girl from Brittany Runs a Marathon?
Maybe it's got June Squibb, Jillian Bell.
Yeah, Jillian Bell is who I'm thinking
Yeah.
of. They really went with the weird plus movies on this one. Can you give us some more hints? More hints about the
Okay.
title?
A
I'm
young-
picturing the movie.
A young and unskilled fairy godmother ventures out on her own to prove her worth by tracking down a young girl whose request for help was ignored.
Is it called Godmothered?
It is, in fact. So, to be clear, we have movies up on this. The other movies up with Artemis Fowl are Secret Society of Second-Born Royals, which is about a secret society of second-born royals. Mulan, which is, as everyone knows, about Mulan. Magic Camp, guess what that's about? A Wrinkle in Time. Come on, could it be any more clear? Spies in Disguise, really spelling it out.
That
for
one's
you.
really the odd man out of the bunch, I must say.
Yeah, for real. And Godmothered, a movie about a fairy godmother.
Zane, any final thoughts on Remember the Name?
Yes. My final thought is that for the entirety of I guess, the press cycle for Artemis Fowl, in my head, misconstrued Artemis Fowl with Maximum Ride, the other young adult
yeah.
book series, because fowl is a bird word. And I had read the first Maximum Ride book a very long time ago. I went a long time seeing the thumbnail for the trailer and not actually watching it. And I always thought, it's weird that that's not what I thought I remembered,
Yeah,
but
there's no wings.
I guess that's what this is. And then I saw the trailer once and was very confused and eventually put together that they were just different book series.
Yeah.
I meant final thoughts?
Honestly, no. I just think more people should take the time as we roll into a year in weird reality where you have more time to watch movies. People should spend more time remembering the name. Perhaps not either of these names or either of these movies.
Perhaps not.
Wade, final thoughts?
Nah. Zane, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Anything,
Well, I take that back.
anything you want to plug? Anywhere other people can find you online?
Yeah.
To share their thoughts about Richard Jewell.
Yes, you can email your thoughts about either of these films directly to me at zanehollomon@gmail.com. I play in a band, Caffeine Daydream. We're on Spotify and stuff. I run the Twitter account, which is, I think, very funny. So you can follow us there. My personal Instagram also is where I announce a lot of my own music stuff. There's a link to my Bandcamp there. Wade will put it in the description. Yeah, please email me all of your thoughts about either of these films. If anyone has seen either of these films, going by the numbers, it seems like perhaps they have not.
Yes, and please email us your thoughts as well as cinemabumspod@gmail.com.
Please, if you have any thoughts on Sam Rockwell or Judi Dench or cancel culture, or
if cancel culture's got you down.
If cancel culture's got you down, just write
You
your
and old
buddies over at cinemabums.pod.com.gmail.squadcast. One final thought that I had. I currently work with somebody who claims to have once sold a firearm to Clint Eastwood.
Wow, I believe it.
Which I believe. I don't know. I don't like guns. I don't like Clint Eastwood that much, but I still think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, can I add? I looked at my notes. Can I add one final thought? So at one point in Artemis Fowl, there is a child in a cage, and she's not happy about it. And to express this, she says, "Not happy."
Oh yeah, that classic X-Men trope is weird. It's ugly head.
Weird, it's ugly head.
Yeah, that's all. I just thought, perhaps we should acknowledge some of the subtle symbolism in this film.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be back next week starting our Jordan Peele series with Keanu.
Oh, yes.
Can't Stop the Peeling.
Can't stop the peeling.
And I guess my final thought would be April Fools.
Happy April Fools.
It was all a joke.
Please listen to us ever again.
You know it ain't my time to call it a day. I wanna